All right, now it's time to cover our pen tool group, which as you can see is the 6th tool group up from the bottom of the toolbar. Shortcut P, go ahead and select that. And one thing before we get started with the pen tool, when you're working with the pen tool, as you can see the first option up here, normally you'll be working with paths. You can also change it to shape mode, but you can convert paths into shapes later on, so it's best to just work in paths mode, in my opinion. What this means is that we will also want to switch over here in our layers panel from the layers tab to the paths tab. How the pen tool works is it lets you draw selections, and what it'll do is it'll actually turn your paths and your vertices into vectors so you can scale them without any resolution loss later on. It's based on mathematical conversions instead of just pixel areas, and we don't need to get into that right now. All you need to know is that you can scale paths without losing resolution. So how the pen tool works, you'll click wherever you want your first point, and then you can either click to make straight lines or click, hold, and drag to make curved lines. And then you can also break these handles later with one of the tools, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Whenever this little circle icon appears next to your pen tool, it means it will complete the path so that it's holding a solid shape area. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And now we have this weird little mound right here, and you can see our work path over here. After we've drawn a path, we have a few different options with what to do with it. I'm going to go ahead and change this, talk about this later. But we can make it into a selection area. That's what this make selection does. We can make a feather radius. We're just gonna keep it at 0 so that our selection area is perfectly along these lines. And now you see we have a selection area that we can work on in our layer. I'm gonna go ahead, hit Control D to undo that. Reselect this work path. The other option, or the second option, I should say, is to make your pen path into a mask. And you can see now we have our mask on our normal layer. So we can go ahead and move that. I'm actually gonna delete this mask. Oh, boop, delete. Yes. Come back over, and the third and final option, let's reselect this path, reselect our pen tool, is to make our selection into a shape. And you'll notice this creates a new layer in our paths and a new layer in our layers. And we can work with this shape. If we move it in our layers, it will also move it in our paths. And you can kind of see this icon move as the shape changes position, but the original path does not move with it. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. You'll notice it's deleted from the layers as well. Reselect this work path. Reselect our pen tool, shortcut P. And the other thing to note with the pen tool are these options here. So if you're working with multiple paths inside a single path layer, you can change the functions. So right now we have combine shapes. So I'll just go ahead and draw another layer, or another path, excuse me. And now you'll see if I make this work path into a shape, it'll be the combination of both of these. And when I work in our layers, if I move the shape, it'll move both instead of just one. Let's go ahead, we'll undo those. So the other options, let's go ahead and grab our path select tool, which I'll talk about in a later video. So now if we move this path and reselect our pen tool and we change this from combine shapes to subtract front shape, Now, if I were to make a shape mask or selection, and it'll be easiest to see with the shape, so let's do that. The front shape is removed. Go ahead and undo that. We can also do things like intersect shape areas, so only this little margin right here will be selected when we make a shape. Undo. And we can also exclude the overlapping shapes, so now this area won't be part of a shape if we create one, like so. The other options just have to do with alignment, so we can just align it to the canvas, and you'll see we can align our path left, middle, right, top, so on and so forth. If we align to selection and we have something selected, oh, whoops. Then we can align things that way. And I'm just going to go ahead and move on. So let's delete this work path. Reselect our pen tool. Let's grab the Freeform pen tool. So how the Freeform pen tool works, instead of drawing your path with a series of clicks and drags, you'll just click, hold, and draw the area that you want to turn into a path. And Photoshop will determine the anchor points for you. Other than that, it works the same way as the regular pen tool. Go ahead and delete this one. Next up, we have our Curvature pen tool, and this works the same way as the pen tool, just a series of clicks. The difference is that it will automatically turn all of your edges into curves. We'll go ahead and delete this one. Let's redraw a triangle for this last set of tools. Now we'll grab our Add Anchor Point tool. So what the Add Anchor Point tool does is it allows you to add more anchor points to your path, as its name suggests. So now if we wanted to work with something like our Direct Select tool, we have more points to work with. Go ahead and undo that. The delete anchor point tool does what you think it would. It deletes anchor points. So now we're back to our original 3. And now, as promised, our convert point tool allows you to not only change straight edged anchor points into curves, but it allows you to take pre-existing curves and break their handles like so. And that does it for our pen tool group.